you've had in your Lova the Pixel 9 Pro XL, the biggest one that they have. I'm going to ask you straight out of the bat. Marks out of 10. Go.
I'm going to give it an 8. I'm going to give it an 8.
Okay.
On principle that I never give things a 10 because there's always room for improvement. And a 9 would be sort of this has changed my life.
Okay.
And this hasn't, because
Right.
we're past that with smartphones, I think. Am I impressed with it? Yes, I most certainly am. My previous handset, well, I mean, last year I had a look at the Pixel 8 Pro, precursor to this, and it's only been 10 months since that was released. I was kind of, okay, right, we had a flagship phone, even better flagship phone, but it's not a, Pixel 8 Pro XL, it's Pixel 9. We've skipped that. A new range of pixels. So does it justify that leap in technology, and why? I think to a certain extent it does. If you look at what they're doing with the battery, what they're looking at with RAM, what they're looking at, particularly with the chipset. Yeah, sure, fine. I think the old reliables of screen size, weight, and battery, sure, they come into play as well. One good reason from a Google perspective why they're interested in getting such a spec bump out there as quickly as possible is, of course, to do with AI and getting Gemini to run well. And I get that. And of course, we have Gemini Live, which is their subscription system, their subscription version, which if you're buying a 9 is going to come a year free. And then I think it's quite pricey thereafter. I think it's like €22 a month or something like that. So with all that in mind, should you go out and buy one if either A, you have a Galaxy S24 or an iPhone 15 Pro Max, or if you just happen to have a Pixel 8 Pro, should you go out and buy this?
I'm going to ask you this question right now because you are a long-time iPhone user and you flipped over to Google Pixel and their system last year. Was it a good experience for you?
It was, and still is, a little bit of a learning curve, because things that are very simple on iOS are just different on Android. You've played with iPhones and you're an Android guy. How would you compare them?
I would say I have exactly the same thing, that if somebody says, I can't make this work on my iPhone, I go, I'll have a look at it, and then I'm just immediately want to throw the thing in the bin, for the simple reason that it just does things differently. Because when you're working with a smartphone with a particular, this is why I asked you, when you're working with a particular kind of OS, Google has their own, Samsung has their own, iPhone has their own, and they all do things in a certain way, and you get this like almost motor memory kind of a stuff. You just do stuff automatically until you go on to a different system, and it's like, So I know that you went through pain going from iPhone into the Google Pixel OS, but after having had it for a number of months, did you find you were getting used to it, or are you still kind of pining for the old days?
There's a bit of me, like, there's been 10 years of training there. You can't wipe that out in an instant. It's a little bit to me.
Anyway.
Like, it says I've got email. It doesn't say how many emails. What am I meant to do with that?
So listen, you have the phone there. So because we are experimenting with video clips on YouTube. So if you have a look at our YouTube channel, our one clip this week is going to be this discussion about the Google Pixel 9 Pro XL. And on the video right now, Niall is going to hold it up and show it to us and tell us what you think. How big is it compared to your hand? Because this is the biggest biggest one of all that they have. I mean, it is the XL. Okay, there you go. Boom. That
Yeah,
looks like a normal size phone to me, even though it's the XL.
yeah. And the interesting thing is, like, I have it on standby there, but as soon as I pick it up,
Mm-hmm.
it switches on. So I think it's, little fine details like that that will sort of bring people in. There's a couple of things if you are a Pro 8 user that will stand out to you straight away.
Go on.
One is the position of the finger, which is a marked improvement on the last one. This time out, um, Google has gone with a Qualcomm chip, their 3D Sonic Gen 2 ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, and
Mm-hmm.
it's actually very quick. It's quick and I'm not this more because I never had any problems with the previous generation, but it's certainly faster and it's gotten because of that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, on the very basics, it is slightly bigger compared to last year's model. It's 6.8 inches, and they've done a bit better in that they've eaten into the bezel, so it's not, they haven't, made it bigger just to satisfy a bigger screen.
Mm.
They've taken dimensions and done more with them. It is, however, a little bit heavier, and that's noticeable. I mean, it's 221 grams versus 230. So, you hold them together, and you're like, oh, okay, there's a bit of
Can you
heft to the
notice
new
that?
one.
Because you look at that,
Yeah,
in the stats, and you kind of go 10 grams. Ah, come on, what's 10 grams? Like, but you do notice that when you're holding the new phone. That's interesting.
you do. Yeah, like when you're playing, balance between two. Yeah, you do notice it. Um,
How about now when we are
one,
out and about and it's August and it's a little bit brighter? Is the display any brighter?
yeah, the display is much much brighter. Of course, you can muck around with it to your heart's content, but the new model is 2,000 to 3,000 nits of brightness versus
Mm-hmm.
1,600 2,400 nits on the Pro 9, Pro 8. So that's again, it's a noticeable difference. So gaming, if you're watching videos, that sort of thing, you will have a slightly nicer
Hmm.
experience. The battery, they will always say 500 and you're good to go. Thereafter, I think you'll get something like 80% of the charge. Um, who's to say based on what your usage is? I think your mileage may vary.
Of course.
A couple of things on the sustainability front. iFixit have replacement parts. Google, of course, they've the unit itself, the handset itself, is made of 18% recycled materials. We're sending this out with a view to it being, fixed as opposed to replace. And
Hmm.
by all means, if you want to get an official screen replacement, we can do that for you as well. So, we're out with working with third parties.
Hmm.
On the software front, 7 refreshes is what they guarantee. Or rather, 7 years of updates. I mean, we're getting this across, and the only reason we're getting it across the board is because the EU. So, let's not clap them on the back for that. This is something they have to do. Same with going for
Well,
USB-C, for example.
that's
They have to
that.
do it.
Yeah, that is a very good thing because the way that it was going was that you had to replace your phone every 2 years because they were not supporting the older phones with the new software. So it's good. I would imagine there's no way I'm going to wait 7 years before I'm changing my phone just because they're supporting it for 7 years. I'll probably change my phone
Yeah.
it's probably every 3 years now. I used to do it every 2 years, but probably every 3 years now. So,
Hmm. Yeah, and I
anyways,
think most people that would be their cadence, all right. So I don't think that many people would be like, yes, 7 years. But the option's there. I mean, the last phone I had before this, I'd had for nearly 10. So it does happen. It does happen
oh, what
out
do
there
you
in the world.
like?
Yeah.
What about
So
the
another
RAM?
RAM. Yeah, you're a fan of RAM. We were talking about it last week,
Yeah,
actually, and you were saying you wouldn't get a laptop with less than, what was it, 32?
16.
Um,
16 gigs. Yeah.
16. Well, guess what? You will now be able to get a phone that has 16 gigs of RAM. Isn't that
Pretty good.
amazing? As
But
opposed to
that's what I'm asking you.
12.
The one you have has got 16 gigs. So do you find that it
Yeah.
runs really snappy and fast?
It does, but as with all things RAM, it comes down to how much you're running at the same time. I mean, you can have one app going and it's fine. You
Yeah,
could
and it
have
flies
two
along.
and it's, I mean, fine. It's when you get into, five, six apps, whatever, or if you're using gaming and one at the same time, or trying to, that's when the demand comes in. And I think in the Pixel 9 Pro XL, what you're getting is it's when you get into capturing 4K and 8K video, when you're looking into that sort of dynamic scanning that it does, um, then you're getting into the interesting stuff. Then you're getting into okay, this is why we need extra RAM. Potentially, we might be either playing or mucking around with video to this standard. So
Yeah.
yeah, fine. If you're going to do 8K video capture, you're gonna need more RAM just to keep up with it. And
Yeah,
that makes
but
sense.
but also if you're doing 8K video and editing it on a phone, it also says something about
Well,
you.
it does that.
Oh,
It
whatever.
does that.
Anyway, listen. What have you got to say then to wrap up then with the Pixel Pro?
Yeah, well, last point to raise on, and this is important as well. Hitting the stores at €1,199 compared to 578 for the previous one. So you're hitting the big time, Google Pixel. Um, is it worth it? Do you know what? If you want that plain vanilla, no mucking around version of Android, I think this is a pretty good phone for you. I think it's a good solid handset. I think, in some ways it might underperform a little bit compared to the two compared to Apple and Samsung. But I think in a lot of ways they're much of a muchness between them. I think it will come down to a couple of years' time when those updates, those Gemini updates are really rolling out. Will people still be saying, do you know what? My Pixel used to run really well, and then this update came out, and it's a load of nonsense.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see.
That's the danger.
Excellent. Well, listen, a solid 8 out of 10 from Niall because he never gives a 10 out of 10, and a 9 out of 9 would be just too good. So actually, a top score, I would say. Well done to the phone.